Dollmaker's curse. Emily Chen hadn't meant to visit Madame Vesper's antique dolls that rainy Tuesday afternoon, but as she hurried down the narrow cobblestone street, seeking shelter from the sudden downpour, the shop's window display caught her eye. A Victorian porcelain doll with startlingly blue eyes and an oddly familiar smile. The bell above the door chimed discordantly as she entered. The shop smelled of old fabric and something else, something sweet and medicinal, like preserved flowers. "She's been waiting for you," Madame Vesper said, appearing from behind a curtain of shadow. The old woman's fingers, spotted with age, caressed the doll's pale cheek. Some dolls choose their owners. The price tag read $13.13. Emily had exactly that amount in her wallet. Later, she would remember how Madame Vesper's smile never reached her eyes as she wrapped the doll in black tissue paper. What would make you purchase something that seems mysteriously meant for you? How do you distinguish between coincidence and fate? Emily named the doll Charlotte, though she wasn't sure why. That night, she dreamed of a little girl in a white dress playing in a garden that had too many shadows. She woke to find Charlotte sitting on her dresser instead of the shelf where she'd placed her. The doll's head was turned toward a daguerreotype on the wall, an ancient family photo Emily had inherited from her grandmother. Over the next week, she noticed more. Charlotte's position changed when she wasn't looking. The room grew cold around the doll. Small objects went missing, only to reappear arranged in patterns, the sound of a child's laughter in empty rooms. Would you keep an object that showed signs of supernatural activity? At what point would you draw the line? The messages began as small things. Words written in dust. "Help me." Toy blocks rearranging to spell, "He's coming." Pages torn from Emily's books forming cryptic collages. Charlotte's blue eyes gradually turning brown. Then Emily found the diary pages materializing one by one under her pillow, written in a child's unsteady hand. "Dear Diary, Papa took me to the Dollmaker today. He said he could make me better." The Dollmaker's hands were so cold. How would you respond to receiving messages from a spirit? Would you try to help or distance yourself? Research at the local library revealed the truth. In 1873, a man named Victor Thorne called himself the Dollmaker. He claimed he could cure sick children through a process he called spirit transference. Parents brought him their dying children, paying in gold and hope. The children never left his shop. Years later, when authorities finally investigated, they found hundreds of dolls, but no bodies. Victor Thorne had vanished, leaving behind only his collection of eerily lifelike porcelain dolls. Charlotte, Emily realized, wasn't possessed by a spirit. She was the spirit's prison. What would you do with an object you discovered was used for evil purposes? Is destroying it better than trying to right the wrong? Emily began seeing flashes of Charlotte's memories, a father's desperate face, the dollmaker's cold smile, the sensation of porcelain replacing flesh. Other children, so many others, trapped in their own dolls. She learned she could communicate with Charlotte through dreams. The girl's real name was Margaret Sullivan. She had been dying of tuberculosis. Her father had brought her to the Dollmaker as a last resort. The Dollmaker had trapped her soul to fuel his immortality. But Margaret wasn't just seeking freedom. She wanted revenge. How far would you go to help right a historical wrong? What if helping meant becoming part of something dangerous? Signs of the Dollmaker's return multiplied. Other dolls in antique shops began to move. Children reported seeing a tall man with glass eyes. Old photographs showed the same face across centuries. Madame Vesper's shop vanished overnight. Emily discovered the pattern. The Dollmaker needed to renew his immortality spell. He required 13 souls every 13 years. The next cycle would begin at the next full moon. He was collecting his dolls again. Would you risk confronting an immortal being to save trapped souls? How would you prepare? Emily wasn't alone in her fight. She found others. James Chen, no relation, whose sister was taken in 1960, Maria Santos, descendant of another victim, old Thomas Burke, who'd escaped the Dollmaker as a child, Sarah Mitchell, an expert in occult artifacts. Together, they discovered the Dollmaker's true name and origin, the ritual used to trap souls, a possible way to reverse it, the price of freedom. But breaking the curse would require a sacrifice, a living soul to replace each trapped one. Would you sacrifice yourself to free an innocent soul? How do you weigh one life against another? The group prepared for the confrontation. They gathered magical artifacts, learned protection spells, located the Dollmaker's new workshop, prepared the counter-ritual. But the Dollmaker was ready for them. He offered Emily a terrible choice. 1. Join him and learn immortality. 2. Take Margaret's place in the Doll 3. Watch as he collected 13 new children. Emily chose a fourth option, one Margaret had whispered to her in dreams. How do you outmaneuver someone who's had centuries to perfect their evil? What weaknesses might immortality create? The final battle took place in the Dollmaker's workshop. Hundreds of dolls lined the walls, each contained a trapped soul. The air crackled with dark magic. Time itself seemed to bend. Emily understood the true nature of the curse. The Dollmaker wasn't truly immortal. He was trapped in his own curse. The children's souls were both prison and prisoners. Freedom required forgiveness, not vengeance. A year later, Emily visits a memorial garden where 13 white roses bloom eternally. Margaret's doll sits in a museum, just a doll now, with blue glass eyes that don't follow visitors. The other dolls were released, their spirits finally at peace. The Dollmaker himself became what he truly was, dust and bitter memories. But sometimes, on quiet nights, Emily hears children's laughter in her dreams. Not trapped souls anymore, but free spirits, playing in gardens without shadows. The lesson behind this story is true immortality lives in the ripples we create in others' lives, not in the desperate grasping at eternal life. The greatest curse is not death, but the fear of it that drives us to cruel acts. 1. How does fear of death corrupt human nature? 2. What makes an object haunted, the spirit within, or our beliefs about it? 3. Is vengeance ever truly satisfying compared to justice? 4. How do we balance personal sacrifice against greater good? 5. What is the true nature of immortality? 6. How do we honor the memory of historical wrongs? 7. Can evil be fought without becoming evil?